me see what happens here. Let me play some music. Hold on.
What time? What?
I just muted everybody, so hold on. What is up, everybody? All right, it should be just me right now. Guys, oh, hold on. I muted myself. How the hell do I mute my own stuff? Unmute everybody. And then I should be unmuted. Can everybody hear me or no?
Yep.
Can you guys hear me? Good. Okay.
Yep.
Guys, thank you for being here, man. Hey, we have had some technical difficulties. I haven't been doing this all summer, and you guys know me. It's always last minute. But let me switch over to introduce everyone here. No, it's not you. You guys can listen to that again, I guess. Oh my God, stop it already. I have all these buttons set up, but I just created those new scenes, so they're not in here. Command 3. There we are. Woo-hoo!
There we go.
Finally. Yeah, so obviously you know my partner in crime, Mr. Kelly McKay, the one and only Mr. Pete Ramsey, and my other partner in crime, boss man, Mr. Ryan Grimes. What's up, everybody?
How's it going?
What's up?
Nothing, man. Thank you guys for being here. So most of you know, man, we have this right now. The whole point of today is, first and foremost, we want to thank all of you. This is mine and Kelly's 100th episode, which in the grand scheme of things, 100 episodes isn't crazy, but it means a lot to us. And the even bigger mark is we broke 1 million downloads with the last podcast. So I think we're at like 1,007,000 something right now. So thank you guys very much. We owe all that to you for giving us the support over this last 2 years. So we're going to start doing more things like this with the live podcast once I get it worked out. But don't get podcast and live streams mixed up. So the podcast is going to be when we normally do it, Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're just going to have it go live into the groups. And then the live streams are going to start being on Saturday nights, just so you guys know. Anyway, I guess we'll... Anywho.
Well, I know most of you guys, I'm sure nobody cares, but I just want to thank Gil for, putting the podcast together and having so much passion for it, because that 100 episodes that are roughly 100 hours, you could take that times 3 or 4. probably times 4 for Gil, probably times 3 for me, maybe times 5 for Gil, times 3 for me. So it's a good, 300 to 500 hours, and then some spent on delivering content and just working on the podcast. So uh, Gil's really passionate about trying to deliver the best show possible. So thank you, Gil, and 1 million downloads. That's something special, I think. So appreciate all the listeners for actually caring and enjoying some of the stuff that we've put out. So thank you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And obviously, we have some of our past guests. We have some others that are probably going to come on at some point too. But Mr. Pete's been on. Ryan was on. His episode's only a couple of weeks back. But yeah, I guess we just want to shoot the shit. There's no real topic here. This is kind of just a celebration and a whole bunch of knowledge on here. How's everything going on with you, Mr. Pete? I know you had a bunch of things were getting ready to, like, you were launching some new stuff last time that we talked to you.
Yeah, we've been working on a lot of different things. We've had a few setbacks. For those of you who don't know, I'm broadcasting from South America. I keep a place in Colombia. And since moving out in the country, we've had some internet issues. I finally just had to relocate again. I moved in this past weekend, so a lot of stuff's been put on hold. But the Your HVAC Business setup, startup, and launch will be moving forward here, hopefully by December 1st. And we've reduced that down probably to about a 6-month program as opposed to a year. It's kind of tough, guys, because when we're out there trying to share your information and bring other people along, learning this business model has had a bit of a learning curve to it. And the goal is to make it affordable so that the little guys can be part of it too, and so that we're trying to strike that balance so that we've got something for everybody. And so I've been doing a lot of training, coach the coaches kind of stuff. Some of it I don't like very much, but some of it's pretty good. So we hope to have something really mature at some point and not so sporadic. But it's going pretty good.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, because I know I was checking out some of the things. I guess let everybody know exactly, just in case they missed your episode, exactly what it is that you do again for everybody.
So HVAC Greatness is the name. It actually stems from an old joke. I joined this church way back in the 90s, and all the kids knew my buddy Scott as Handsome Scott. And so I started training them to call me Pete the Great. And so it kind of came from there. So Pete the Great. Oh, look, Daddy, it's Pete the Great. And, the parents would roll their eyes. So it was kind of an inside joke. But no, the greatness, the whole concept is to extract the HVAC contractor, the business owner, and all of his team, extract their greatness. You can be the best technician ever graced their house. And if you don't communicate it in some form of fashion, it may go by unnoticed. And so we work on a lot of processes and systems that are designed to identify, solidify, and enhance your true brand, and extract that in throughout your organization. Attract the right people with the right characteristics that share your values, that share your vision, and make it a fun place to work. So it's a bit of a culture creation built around you, the business owner. That's the idea.
No, that makes sense. And look, we've talked about all of us out here need help. I don't care what stage you're in. The new guy, the guy who thinks he's got it all figured out and finds out that he doesn't have it all figured out. So there's definitely
one thing that I'm realizing, like, because I listen to a lot of interviews. I know Ryan does too. And if the more people that you listen to who have made, a great impact and have had some massive success, those guys, the majority of them have had multiple mentors throughout their entire career. I mean, the span of 15, 25 years, multiple mentors. And so I think it's just always important to just continue to, who resonates with you, and then go to that person, and then you're going to learn what they have to give. And then if it's time to move on, if you scale your business to a certain point, then you move to the next one. So I don't think there's any shame in doing that. I think we're all searching for the right answers and to unlock the next step and stage in our business.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would go so far to say as not only is there any shame in doing that, I would say there's probably shame in not doing that. If you're serious about taking your game to the next level, you need some guy. You just think about any professional out there. It doesn't matter if it's an actor, if it's an athlete, if it's a singer, performer. Somebody is watching them, coaching them, and making sure they stay on point so that they're delivering the best that they can possibly deliver. And for me, the very first one was Ron Smith, and this goes way back, showing my age. Guys, if you get it wrong, I was getting it wrong. We were growing because we had a lot going for us, but we had a lot of stuff mixed up. So we started going to his program. He would fly in to Charlotte, North Carolina. He'd do a 2-day session, load us up with homework, give us a couple of months, and he'd come back, add to it, give us a couple of months. And we did that for an entire year. And oh my gosh, what a difference it made. And so after Ron Smith, I went to Dr. Ron Collier. After him, I went to Steve Howard for the sales boot camp. After him, we went to another one and another one and another one. And so we became a little bit of training junkies, but nobody was doing what we were doing. And if you want to set yourself out in a part of your market, it just pays to stay ahead of the game wherever you can, whatever advantage you can get. So I couldn't agree more.
No, that makes perfect sense. Well, I know with Ryan and what I miss, Ryan, people that didn't listen to the episode with you, just let them know how you started. Like everybody, me and Ryan always talk because a lot of people see where we are now or where Ryan has taken it now, and they think like he had no struggles to get there. Like he just popped out one day and got there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of not paying yourself. It's a lot of doing the hard stuff. I'm still not there yet. There's a long way to go, and Gil and I are definitely going to, combine our strengths and weaknesses together to get there. And sometimes, I think for what I'm really excited is having Gil here is because we finally have, more very qualified, high-level people that we can get to that next level. Because one thing you can't do is you can't do it all yourself. And we have awesome people here. I mean, our office is crushing it. I have amazing technicians. But, the stuff that's outside of that is a huge role that not only one person can do. So, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of the more you train, the more you pour into guys like Pete and have those resources, the better you're going to be, and they wouldn't be in business if they're not making you money. So,
yeah, no. And one thing I do, I've been around some really good teams, not to saying that my last team was not good, but we are pretty fortunate here that there is a pretty awesome team put together here as far as pieces to excel. I've seen people excel their business with a lot less than what we have. So that's why it was very exciting to come over here and be a part of this for sure. It's been crazy this summer, though. The podcast has kind of taken the back seat. For me, it's always family, work, podcast. And podcast has always kind of got the leftovers. But so it's still awesome to see where it's become and all that. I'm sorry. Some of these people are asking some questions. I think his name is Mr. I don't want to say Tonge. I don't want to say it wrong.
We can't comment on there, can we? We can't type and comment. You can?
You
How?
can't? Oh, it should be a little line at the bottom. It says add comment.
Yeah, it doesn't allow me to do it either. I was going to say, hey, back to Zeke. I see him in there, but
okay. No. Yeah, I don't know why I thought it should let you guys comment, because I know let's see, just say some hello to people. Rookie, you shut your mouth. Late comment. He said late as usual. But yeah, Mr. Zeke, Mr. Clint, GBJ, let's see, HVAC, Grandpa, Mark Baker, hello, Greg Miracle. Let's see who else. Randy Tourball. What's up, Randy? How you doing, bud? He says, "Hey, Gil, I'm loving my April Air 88444 thermostat. It works so much better with the AC than the other one ever did." Mr. Aaron, how you doing, buddy? Rudy72, tried it real fast. Somebody said, I don't want to say his name wrong, Mr. Tonge. Is school worth it getting into the HVAC industry? Is school worth it getting into the HVAC industry and getting ready to start school after January? So if you're asking, is school worth it? Yes. I'll let you guys all give your opinion, but to me, it depends on what school you're going to. You definitely got to learn the theory behind what we do, but sadly, not all of these schools are very good, in my opinion.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, I think
not everybody at once, right?
some of that, I believe.
I used to. Go ahead, Kelly. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I don't know if the traditional schools are worth it. I hate to be that way. I've seen, but I know it depends on the trainer and the curriculum and all that stuff. But I feel like if you can go to some type of a boot camp where it's hands-on, like a 6-week boot camp or a 10-week boot camp, like you're going to get so much more value out of that. And I know it kind of depends on how you learn too. If you learn from being hands-on, like a lot of us that are in the trades, then I would lean towards that. I would want to invest my money in something like that versus in a classroom 80% of the time and, out in the shop 20% of the time.
Yeah, and I would second that. But you know what? A lot of it depends on you. Probably the best that I learned in my young career was working in the job in the daytime and going to night school in the evening. And I would learn these things and I go out the next day and I test them and hook up my gauges and, check amp draw and superheat, subcool and all this stuff. And that's when it really took hold. But in transitioning through the theory and getting into the practical application, a lot of times there is a disconnect because a lot of people can understand things mentally, but until they actually put their hands on it, they don't really get it. And I think that hit to me. I used to teach night school over at the local community college, heating and air conditioning. They brought me in to teach code, and then it shifted over to basic electricity and then basic refrigeration. And at one point, they were saying, "Hey, you want to come on full time?" And, I had my business during the day, teaching at night. It was a supplemental income. It helped me out during my growing stages, but I did not want to do that. But the students loved the lab. So they gave me total leeway, and we'd go out there. We do the first half, talk about Ohm's law and basic circuitry, and then we get out there. Those ply transformer, kind of relay, real basic stuff. The guys would get off on that. We put bugs in there and let them try to figure out, what the electrical issue was, and you could just see a shift in the individual. So it really depends on your learning aptitude, but we need it both. You've got to have a good foundation, and it's hard to concentrate because sometimes it's not very interesting until it's interesting, and then it's awesome, right? So we've got to have it all, but we've got to you got to have that balance so you can maintain the interest. And to answer the question, I never met Jackie Rainwater. I've heard of Jackie Rainwater, but no, I've never met that person.
With me in school, I think people get in school and they get this mindset that they're going to get out making 25, 30, 35 an hour, and that's just not the right mindset to have. When I hire somebody, if I have somebody that's been through school and somebody who's not been through school as an employer, I'm thinking, who has the best mindset here? Because I'm going to give you the opportunity. To me, a guy through school and a guy who knows nothing, they know the same, they both know nothing, in my opinion. There's a lot of traditional schools around here. There are a lot of great schools out there that, you can learn and stuff like that from. But just in my personal opinion, I think that school, I think it's a great thing, but don't let it be your end all be all. Make sure your mindset coming out of school is, I'm going to be on time every day. I'm going to come up with a good attitude. I'm going to contribute to a good culture. That's what you should be thinking about going into this trade. Not let me see how much money I can make.
Well, and that's the thing, man. School is like anything. You only get out of it what you put into it. So some of these people think that they're going to go to a school and they're just going to come out the best tech ever. It's not the way it works. And I learned more from my dad watching, learning, hands-on than I ever did going to school, even though my dad was like, well, why don't you try to do it? Because I think this is what people are doing now. There's one school that I do kind of endorse, is the one that me and Kelly did a podcast with, the Perfect Technician Academy. I do like the way that they do it, the way they go through the course. The other way, I'm really big on, Jesus Christ, I'm going to have a brain fart. The online training, Kelly, that we...
Interplay.
Interplay
yes,
learning.
Jesus.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ryan. Interplay learning. That way you learn while you earn. I love that statement. That you can get a job and be in the field. And to be honest, all you guys out there right now, you have to just realize it's a process. You're not going to make big money the first couple of years, but if you eat that shit sandwich the first couple of years, you take your lumps, you learn, you grab the wrenches, you grab the tools, do what your lead tech or whoever's telling you to do, that this industry is wide open for the taking. More guys are getting out than people that are getting in, as far as the older generation retiring off. So there's a wide opportunity for everyone to do it. And I don't care if you're 35, 36, 40. Me and Kelly talk to people all the time that are getting in at like 45 years old, 40. My last lead installer didn't start the trade till he was 35. Granted, he's still working at like 50 because of some of his prior life decisions, but he's a beast. He's one of the better installers I've ever seen. And he said the HVAC changed his life. So I don't ever think you're too old. Obviously, I don't know if I want to be a tin knocker at 50 years old, but to each his own. But I definitely think we got to do school, and you never stop. It never, ever stops, whether you start learning sales, whatever it may be. I'm glad we had this. I want to transition just because of the people that we have here, even though I know me and Kelly have talked about this probably a million times, but I think we have good people here to answer this. We always hear so many times guys are saying, I'm a technician, I'm not a salesman. They don't realize that every call they go on, that's a sale. You fix that contactor, that's a sale. I guess we'll start with you, Pete. If you had a technician came to you and said, he's a great technician, he can fix anything, but he can't get over the mental block of selling, what would you say to him?
You're fired. No, everything starts with sales, and it is part of the process. But I worked for a gentleman briefly. I worked for Goodman, and one of the he was the senior guy. He was the regional manager, if you will. The guy was bright. He was bright, hardest worker. And I'll never forget something he said. I didn't like it at the time. He said, it's not what you say, it's how you say it in order so that people receive it. And the way he utilized it, I didn't agree with. But in this case, what we did with our team was this. You're darn right. You're a service tech. And as a service tech, that makes you not a salesperson, it makes you a consultant. And as a consultant, you have to consult, deliver a report, a dashboard, if you will, of the entire system. So are you doing your job, just stopping at whatever happened to break this time and not looking around and diagnosing the system and see what's next? All right. What about the static pressure on the duct system? Or have we got the proper duct sizes? What about indoor air quality? Do we have? Are we checking for the quality of air for VOCs, high contaminants, high CO2? All these different variables. And, do you have a process in place that allows you to be a consultant and share it in such a way that it's not, we teach our guys not even to put pricing on there. Everything's laid out. We use a lot of symbology on there. And so we have, it's a bit of we call it an assessment document, and Zeke knows about it. He's utilizing that over there at JC Warner as well, where there's no pricing. It's all laid out, and it's placed in the appropriate visual aid box. So one of the boxes, for example, is this little house with a thermometer in its mouth, and it's a sick house. And so there we would record, we have high VOCs or high particulate or high CO2 or what have you. And so the homeowner isn't being, we're looking about price. They're looking at, okay, so here are these issues. Like one of them says danger. Okay, so if it's over in the danger catalog, what is it dangerous to? Is it dangerous to the equipment? Is it dangerous to the tenant or the person living there? Is it dangerous to the house somehow? An example might be dangerous to the equipment. Do you have a light and surge protection system on that new electronic system, with all the communicating boards and things like that? If not, you should. That's a danger issue. As a consultant, they need you to bring that out. They don't know unless you bring it out. Dangers to the house, that overflow drain pan up in the attic, it's not set right, it's out of balance, what have you. First time something plugs up, now you've ruined the whole ceiling. Now it's dangerous to the house, right? Or dangerous to the person living there. They have a gas appliance and they don't have a carbon monoxide detection device in there. That's dangerous. We have to be a consultant, bring everything to their attention. The key is just don't talk about price. Just lay it all out there and say, this is what we found. And they'll buy on their own. People don't like to be sold, and that's why technicians tend to resist being salespeople, because they don't want to be connected with that negativity. But if you consult and you do a thorough assessment and just say, look, this is your home. What would you like to do? Here's what we found. And they'll ask the questions. And ultimately, that bare minimum repair, average $200-300, whatever that ticket is, your average service ticket will double, triple, quadruple, or more if you do a thorough job. But this requires training, and it does require the light bulb moment for the service technician. What I love about technicians is that they're honest. They're going to be true to what they believe. So if you and I as business owners don't address that, we don't teach them so that they go, oh, I get it. That makes sense. This is better. And then their behavior will change forever, because we always revert back to who we are ultimately. And then you're going to hear, well, the boss would want you to buy this, but you don't need that. Just put this here and there. That's good enough. Because they're true to who they are. They have integrity. There's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong with it is we aren't playing our role well enough in helping them along to have those epiphanies, those moments where they say, wow, I wasn't doing the job that I could have been doing. Thank you, Mr. Trainer, Mr. Boss, whoever brought that information. Now I'm going to change my practice a little bit to include that.
I agree with that. That was me. I was a good technician, but I never wanted to offer anybody anything because I wanted to make sure that bill was as cheap as possible, because I thought that's what the customer wanted. They wanted their system to work and pay the least amount of money as possible. But then something just hit me, and I'd be in there, oh yeah, you need this, wet switch to take care of your drain, and we need a CO detector, surge protector, all the things like you were saying. And the bill gets to $2,000. I'm sitting there with my butthole all tight thinking they're going to yell at me. And they're like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it. I'm like, oh, okay. So they do it all. Then they give me a $40, $50 tip, and they are ecstatic when I leave. And I'm like, well, man, this is great. Like, I just got a $2,000 ticket. I got a $40, $50 tip. They're happy as can be. Like, man, this is, let's rock and roll. And then it gets addictive. You start seeing that in your commission checks and different things. So I agree. Guys need to have that moment where it clicks. I know we get a lot of those questions, and people they get hung up on that. And I'm like, you haven't had your moment yet, but you'll get over that mental block. But I'll let
the next. Go
I was gonna let you guys chime in. Go ahead, Brian.
It's the next step in your career. So cool. You learned how to fix everything on an air conditioner. You've learned how to fix everything on a furnace. You've mastered that part of your job. Great. the next part of your job is to get into, I call it low pressure sales. And, and then it trickles down to you, right? Like Gil said, looking at your commission check. And it's even for me, I mean, you got to find why you're selling or why you're doing this. Yeah, it's good for your customer, it's good for your company, and it's good for your paycheck. So there's a lot more upside to it than downside. And, even here, you see, we see it. Hey, if the company's doing well, it trickles down to everybody else. So, yeah, it's the next step in your career, and it's really not that big of a deal. Just write a couple things on pieces of paper. Good, better, best. People choose the middle option most of the time, and call it a day. It's not like I'm asking you to learn, high pressure sales tactics or any sales tactics at all. Just asking you to write a couple things down on a piece of paper and see if they say yes or no.
Yeah, don't mean to change the subject, but Kelly, you're not the only one with a fucking train that goes by your house. Me and Ryan were trying to have a conversation the other day. Every time one of us open our mouth, it's like, brrr. I'm like, does that train go by literally every fucking 5 minutes? Anyway, go ahead, Kel. Oh, it's your office.
So,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, you guys hit all the major points. So I would just add some of kind of what Pete was saying is that the way I talk to my team members about this is, we're looking for three different things. We're looking to, if there's anything we can make the system safer, which Pete kind of talked about, saving a ceiling, that kind of stuff, anything that can make it more efficient and anything that can make it more reliable. And a lot of people get and I'm the same way. I was the same way until that epiphany that Pete was talking about that I had, which was, if I see a burnt contactor, if I see, something that is working fine right now, but it's going to go bad, like the run cap that is just a little bit out of the specifications listed on it. Well, I feel like we're doing a disservice if we don't at least offer the replacement, because we're talking about reliability here. I don't care if it still works. As a professional, we have to offer those things. And I get it, like drain line safety switches, surge protection, indoor air quality, all these different things that needed to be added, or not need to be added, but need to be communicated to the homeowner. That's our job as a professional, to give them some options that can really improve their life, improve the safety and reliability and efficiency of their system. But no technician will offer this stuff until they believe in it. So and back to the epiphany thing that Pete was saying, like you yourself have to believe in this before you'll actually, share that information on what it can do for somebody with passion, with purpose, with enthusiasm. And until that happens, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle making any additional sales. And anytime, I've shared this stuff like live with my general manager. He coaches another company, and one Saturday they brought all the guys in, and he's like, Kelly, would you speak? And I'm like, yeah, we'll go through like the sales process, or the, delivering a high level of service. And the first thing I get is like, well, what if the guy doesn't have any money? Well, what if he's living paycheck to paycheck, or he's living on disability? Well, you're discriminating. Just like Gil was saying, you're discriminating against that person. You're saying that he doesn't deserve to have the option because you think that he has no money. That's what you're telling me. That's not a high level of service. That's discrimination. I know that's kind of brutal, but that's what it is.
It is.
So you've got to, in order to deliver a high level of service, you got to offer the things that can help improve the safety, reliability, and efficiency. And that is 100% is a mindset shift that has to happen before anything will change. So if you guys don't believe in it, you won't even offer it.
No, well, and guys need to. Okay, so you go out to a house and you're looking at a furnace. This time of year, winter's coming. You look at a furnace and You know, it's a 90% furnace, all drains clogged. So any drain, if you have some sort of safety on it that you can save that customer from having to, you know, use their insurance and deal with being off work for a couple of days, offer a safety switch. It's only going to help the customer. If the furnace is working, you cleaned it, but the igniter has, you guys know when it gets all white and the ohms are a little off, that thing's going to go bad soon. If you don't offer that to the customer, then how good of a tech are you really? I hate to say it that way, but you're not as good as a tech if you think you are. The whole point is to they're not the expert, we are, is to give them the information and let them make the decision. They know what they can spend, what they can't spend, how much money they have in the bank. And I think guys, like we've talked about it, Kel, where people get, you know, maybe the technician is living paycheck to paycheck and, you know, doesn't have any money. So he assumes that everybody else is like him. You know, oh, well, I couldn't afford this bill. Well, guess what? You're not the one paying for it. So it's a struggle that we hear all the time. That's why I brought that question up, because people are always asking us about that. And we even talked to some of our technicians about trying to get over that hurdle.
I agree with Ryan too on this. Is like, we're not asking you to, you know, reinvent the wheel. We're not asking you, this is not rocket science. This is just you taking the blinders off, looking at everything, offering solutions. That's it. But sometimes if you're not, you know, I hate to say micromanaging, you know, just making, what is it? What you inspect? What is that saying? I always forget it. Pete, help me out here.
People expect what you expect.
Yes. So sometimes you have to either follow behind them, or you have to ensure that these things are happening. You know, if you don't have a process for that to come back to you in the office to make sure that you see that it was offered to Mrs. Smith. And more times than not, I can tell you, I mean, we talk about this nonstop at my company, and it's a never ending subject. And just because there's always room for improvement in it. But when you're initially starting out, and this is a big change for a technician, if you're used to just going and just replacing the contactor or just replacing the fan motor and going about your business, and then you implement this into your company, it's a big shift. It's a big change. It's just kind of a different way to do business. And like Gil said, when customers do pick that middle option or the top option, the more money they spend with you, the happier they are, because they got a lot more of what they wanted and you got a lot more of what you wanted. So it's a win-win.
Go ahead, Pete. I know you
Oh, you're Pete.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Pete. I know you were getting ready to chime in before.
Well, now just my epiphany moment was a service call, and it was a walk-in cooler, and it was a bit of a drive. It was down into South Carolina. So I drive down, the evaporator coil's frozen up. Drain line was clogged, right? So I get in there and I hose everything down, get everything blown out, cleaned up, you know, looked around, everything looked fine, left, you know, put it back into operation, left. It wasn't but a day or two later, I get a call back, the same unit was down, and the current relay had gone out on it. Now, you guys know, I mean, how are you going to catch a current relay? I mean, it's electrical. It's either working or it's not, unless there's something swirling or there's something just showing some signs of something. But that customer tore into me and commenced to tell me, Pete, you were here just the other day. Why didn't you look around? Why didn't you test it? Why didn't you look around and make sure everything was okay? You didn't do your job. You could have been right in other circumstances. In that particular one, I didn't agree, but that's when it really hit me. I need to slow down and look around, because there are certain people that are expecting that of me and you. And so, I used to tell my guys, you know, finding a cracked heat exchanger. Can you imagine you were out there, something goes out, and somebody in that house gets sick or worse? And you missed the heat exchanger inspection. You didn't catch it. So, you know, if you really are a professional, you're not a salesman, but you're a highly detail-oriented consultant. You assess all of it within the scope of what you're doing. Now, obviously, it's a level 1 or 2. We don't go too deep in some of these processes, but there are certain steps that we need to make every time. My boss 30 years ago taught me that. He would crawl my behind. Funny story. He was the first person to ever let me go. Totally blew my ego. They had a layoff. It was a recession. They let Pete go, and it was a weird dynamic. It was Friday. I'm saying goodbye to the guy. And he wouldn't do it. He waited until I got home. He called me on the phone and said, look, we're having cutbacks and we're letting you go. One person in service. I'm like, but I'm not the new guy. I'm certainly not the junior guy. I outbill these other guys. I'm a much better technician, but he let me go. And long story short, I found out that he's like, we're having to carry our guys through slow periods. We're going to invest in people who are going to stay. Pete is ambitious and he's going to want to go somewhere someday. We don't have any place for him to go. That was his mindset. And later he tried to buy me out because we had a setback in business. But 30 years later, check this out, guys. My son is starting for the same business next week. Zero experience, 30 years old. He was 8 when I was working for him, when I sold my business. And now they hired him into that service, junior service tech role, which was a great company. It was a company there in Dallas, North Carolina, mostly light commercial. If you're a technician, you love working there. And but yeah, it was Junior Morris Mechanical. Junior would instill in this: every job you go on, I want superheat checked, I want refrigerant pressures, I want the drop on the coil, I want this, I want that. He had a whole list, and you had better do it. If you called and asked for help on a diagnosis and you didn't have all that data written down, he'd crawl you, in a nice way. He's a really good man. And it was because he made us do that I stopped calling him, because in doing the processes that he was asking us to do and checking all these things, you start to discover what's really going on. So we have to slow down and not just stop at what's broke today. What about other concerns? Like you mentioned, if the capacitor and the contactor tend to go out around the same time and you're replacing one or the other, why not go ahead and make that recommendation, do a bundled repair? So it's all about just doing the best job we can and set the money aside. Let them make that decision.
No, I agree. I know it's hard for some people because, most techs want to do the right thing. I mean, we can say, I know there's a lot of sleazeballs out there, but most people do want to do the right thing. It's just they get hung up on the right thing. We just have to make sure that they know what the right thing is, and teach them that process, that system. I don't think he heard me. There he is.
I did.
Yeah, me and him have the debate over system and processes. He says a process is like grandma's fried chicken, only she can make it. Is that what it is? You say it so I don't mess it up.
Yeah. System, and it's just the language I like to use. I don't get offended when it's other, but a system is a McDonald's cheeseburger. You go anywhere in the world, get the same McDonald's cheeseburger. A process is, your grandma's fried chicken. Only she knows how to make it, and it is a process. And reflection into my business. Our change out, that's a complete system. From sold to installed, that's a complete system. Everybody knows what to do the second the customer calls. A whole house duct job, that's a whole process. Really, that's something that's got to be flipped over to me, and really only I know how to manage and or do it. And that's a process to get that done. And I can make it a system, but I got to put the system in place. And a lot of that looks like, training, bulletins, Word docs to say when this happens, X, Y, and Z, ordering, all that stuff. Same stuff I did with this, the changeouts, and making that a system, getting the part numbers and whatever.
I'll take it, even though your system process stuff. Just kidding.
Are we still on the customer service tech thing? Selling?
Yeah, go ahead. I know you had to cut out and come back in. Go ahead if you got something to chime in there.
I hope I didn't cut anybody off. I just came in. But with being a service tech, it is you got to understand your value in the company. And with being a service tech, your job is to obviously fix the air conditioner, but you also are converting a customer to a client. Okay, building that relationship with them over time. And it's like our best selling tech here says, man, I talk to the customers more than I actually go fix their equipment. And I'm like, yeah, because you're converting them from a customer to a client. That client, you know, relationship, that when it comes to say, hey, Mr. Jones, you need a new system, they say, okay, how much? Okay, cool. Sign here, and you're done and out. But when you just kind of go there, you're in and out in 20 minutes, and you're on your inspection. They barely remember your name. They're not requesting your name. They're just you're another person to them. You're another company to them. It doesn't matter. So your job, service tech, is to make your company, stay afloat. And I think that happens when you go in there and build that value with them, talk to them, have them spend more money, and then have them, when it comes time, hey, you need a new system. Well, I know you. I know everything about your kids. You talk to me all the time when you're here. Paul, I want, here's 10 grand,
Well, that's how I have thrived in this industry. Is I make it personal. Whenever I left Eddie call, I wanted them to know my name. Gil was here. Not that company, not that technician. I wanted them, if I did my job, they remember my name. They would ask for me in the future. And when I came back, it would be, oh, how are all those kids doing? Because they know that I have 4 kids. Or how, we got another one. Well, I can finally use the other, there's Texas. Hold on, Texas. Let me switch over to the 5 spot. And
while you're doing that, let me chime in.
Go ahead.
In that circle are their friends. In that circle are people they work closely with. In that circle are people they trust. In that circle is their barber. In that circle is their doctor. In that circle is their accountant. In that circle are people that they rely on. And until you're in that circle, you're outside of that circle. And that's what you're talking about. And this is, guys, you little guys, you small guys have such an advantage on this. If you will take your processes and create systems, to Ryan's point, and he's exactly right, so that it's repetitive, that is scalable. But until you can scale the process, you're scaling yourself, and you don't have it so many hours in the day. You've got to take that out of here, and you've got to get it into something that somebody else can follow, so that the customer experience is that same or very similar. Wow, that was cool. That's why I call this company.
That's awesome. I agree 100%. Mr. Texas, what's up, buddy?
What's up, guys? Can y'all hear me okay?
You sound like you're in the middle of Texas with no service and a well getting beaten up in the background. But yes, we hear you.
Yeah, that's precisely what's taking place. I'm glad. It sounds as such.
Yeah, no, it's good enough. Thanks for coming on, man. Especially somebody like you who's known me and Kelly since we started this thing, man. It's awesome to have somebody like you come on to be here for this celebration.
Oh, thank you for the invitation. I apologize, though. I don't know what the celebration is. Is this the Joe Biden victory? Is this an anniversary? What's going on?
If you say the word Biden again, I might kick you out of this group. But yeah, no, this is mine and Kelly's 100th episode, and then we broke 1 million downloads with the last podcast.
Badass. Congratulations, guys.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, you got a million downloads, and Biden gets 70 some odd million votes. Everyone's breaking records here.
Yeah, can you believe that he got more votes than any president ever? That's I won't even get into that conversation.
there's so much. He's such a likable guy, so much charisma surrounding him.
Yeah, I know, right? Especially down there in the heart of Texas. Yeah, we'll get away from that conversation because I'll be here all day and I'll probably get myself in trouble. But yeah, man, how are you guys doing down there, man? I know a lot of you guys, if you don't know Texas, he's killing it down there in Texas, man. Texas. He had a small company, and him and his team have really kicked ass down there.
Yeah, we're doing well. Thanks for asking. We're doing really fantastic. Just plugging right along. You know, the conversation that we had at the beginning of this year was probably not unlike the conversation that many of you had, to where you've heard the phrase, we will not participate, and we just subscribe to that, and it's allowed us to keep moving forward.
That's awesome, man. And you've actually done it defining a model that some people don't like, because you've actually done it with family and friends. And a lot of people always say, stay away from family, don't use friends. But you've got some of your best friends. Well, obviously it's your dad, is different. But you've done it and done well with a model that a lot of people try to shy away from.
Yeah, it's a scary thing, because you never want to have any conflict with someone that you love and care about. And for us, the whole thing begins with that conversation. Hey, this is work. This is not a friendship. We're still friends. I still love you. But please understand that if there's corrective action or challenges that we have to discuss, or fierce conversations that we have to have, just understand that that's nothing more than a professional conversation. And it's worked for us. And I don't have to have those conversations very often.
No, that's good. That's why it's about your culture. And that's what me and Ryan always talk about when he came on and we did the podcast, talking about culture. When you create a certain culture at your company, I think there's some problems. As long as you maintain that culture, you don't have to worry about some things. Like me and Ryan were talking, we don't have to worry about if one of our guys is getting gas in the van and some schlub comes over and says, hey, man, I'll give you $2 more an hour to come with us. Our technicians are going to tell that guy to go fuck himself.
Yeah.
If you have the culture and your people are happy, all that kind of stuff is in play. I just think a lot of those little issues that people worry about, they're not there anymore. At least, I mean, everybody's got problems, but you know what I mean. I feel like a lot of those problems get to go away.
Oh, absolutely. And you said it right. It's not that problems disappear. You just have different problems, and oftentimes the problems that I'd rather have versus wondering if someone's going to leave me over 25 cents, 50 cents, or something silly.
Yeah, no, I agree. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Cal.
I think I was just going to say, I think just like who is it that owns Radiant Plumbing? I'm sorry, I can't remember their names. The husband and wife that. Anyhow, the husband and wife. You think of it, speak up. But they knew that they had clear expectations, clear results that they were responsible for, and as long as they were hitting those things, then it was all good. So
Brad
I think
and
it's
Sarah
just about.
Case-Beer. Sorry, you
Yes.
know me. I have a Brad and Sarah Case
Yep.
Beer. I got a horrible memory. Sorry, go ahead.
But the same way how they are able to be married and work together is just having clear expectations and being held accountable for their job position. That's the main thing. It is just because you're the wife or just because you're the husband. Some people think that, oh, well, I can get away with this or I can get away with that. And I've seen it. Like I've seen it in another local business that's not too far away from me, where husband and wife just struggled with the accountability thing. So I think it's just clear, having clear expectations and being on the same page, being aligned, right? Having a common goal.
Yeah, well, that's what I told Ryan when we first came here, the kind of person I am. You can't sugarcoat stuff with me. Okay, if there's something that's going on, you got to say, hey, motherfucker, like, I mean, or not even that direct. I'm just joking, but it's got to be, hey, weren't you going to do this? Yeah, or you can't beat around the bush. Like, I don't need the shit sandwich. You don't have to like be nice to me, say something, and then try to be nice to me again. Like, it's just kick me in the nuts, get it over with. I'm a big boy. I can take, you know what I mean? I'm responsible for my actions, but I get it that not everybody is like that.
Gil, you're the easiest person to talk to because it's like, hey, I need you to do this. And then you're like, yeah, that makes sense. Cool. And then we move on. It's very, very easy. With certain people, you have to give them, I feel like I have to give them the shit sandwich, but.
Yeah. I've eaten enough shit sandwiches in my day that I don't want to have to endure them. I rather just.
There's been times where I've got two of my best friends that work with me, and times that one of the guys who's got a big personality, him and I will literally be screaming at each other, shouting at one another over whatever it may be. And once it's over. We'll go eat, and then we move on to our customers. It's like it never happened. And not that I'm proud of the shouting that took place, but there's enough of a mutual respect there to understand he's passionate, I'm passionate. That's what this is. It's passion. It's not I hate your guts or anything like that.
Yeah, no, there's probably going to be a time that me and Ryan he's going to be like, what happened here? And I'm going to be like, well, fuck you, Ryan. Like, what are you talking about? And we're probably going to part ways. And in our heads, we're going to be like, man, well, fuck him, dude. And he's going to be saying, fuck Gil. But we're going to think about it. We're going to come back the next day and be like, you know what, man, we're both right. You say, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff happens because when you have passionate people trying to get to a goal. And like I said, that was my biggest thing on one of the reasons that I came here with Ryan is because of our visions were so aligned. For the longest time, yeah, I had some success, yada, 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 whatever. If other people think that's success, in my mind, it's never enough. But I was always trying to portray someone else's vision, and that wasn't the same as mine, and it got so hard to do that. I could only do it so long for eventually it was like eating away at me because it wasn't passionate to me. You know what I mean? It was almost feeling like a robot. So.
Yeah. And if I can.
Take this thing? Can I say something kind of out of left field real quick?
Go ahead, and then we'll let Mr. Pete go.
I'm sorry?
Go ahead. You're good. Go ahead.
Is that Pete Ramsey right there? I can't really see. It's kind of blurry.
Yes. That is the one and only Pete Ramsey.
You're too funny.
So Pete and Kelly are the two people when I very first decided that I was going to learn about business and try to do something other than just create a job for myself. Those are the two people that I found on YouTube and started following in the very beginning of my career, and kind of helped me in the early stages. And I've told Kelly this before, but I've never told Pete. Pete actually helped me with a lot of things in the very beginning, and he doesn't even know it. So thank you for that, Pete. This is actually really cool to be in this conversation with the two of you.
Wow. Thank you. That's awesome.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
I just want to get that out there real quick. It's kind of cool.
Cool. So no, I was just going to chime in as well. I was going to name drop. So in one of the groups, the partnership question came up, and I had a partner back in the 90s. We complemented skill sets so well, we should have crushed it, but we could not get along because we didn't share, in our case, the same values. Mine was all, because I'm more conservative, I've got a spiritual side, and I really try to strike that balance, and I'm not the best because I'm mixed military, and we do what we do, right? So ultimately came to a head when it didn't work out. And so Gary Alex dropped his opinion in there, and he was right. He said, Pete, this is a good topic for you. And it is much more than complementing skill sets. You know, you've got to look at those underlying values. You know, are you cut from the same cloth? Do you, to Gil's point, you got to have the same vision. You know, if your vision is to work your 40 hours, go home and enjoy your weekend, and my vision is to grow the biggest, most magnificent operation in the market, you know, somebody's going to get frustrated. And so there's a lot to consider when you're working with family, you're working with friends. The biggest part is like Kelly said, you've got to lay out expectations. Gary called it a prenup, you know, and you know, like you just mentioned, you know, you got to have that respect. You can speak your mind even if you're getting in each other's face, but there's enough respect that we just go back to who we were and everything's okay. There's a lot to consider when you're getting that close with family and friends, because it's one thing to be a boss. You can do that with anybody, but to be a leader, you've got to make everybody around you better. You've got to motivate them. You've got to inspire them. You've got to create opportunity for them in the organization so that they can flourish, so they can feel like they're part of something bigger than they are. And so there's a whole lot that goes into culture. And so, you know, it's not a black and white situation. There's, you know, 50 shades of gray at least, as they say. But it's worth it. I think it is worth it if you get the right people and you get the right team, right?
Well, that's why, like, you know, like me and Ryan had talked, like, when we met, like, you know, my plan was I was going to go to Texas, and my plan was to buy a company, and I was going to be out there, and that's kind of where my side was going. And when me and Ryan had met up, and we had dinner together and sat there for, like, I don't know, a couple hours talking, and I don't know, maybe it sounds, you know, weird, gay, whatever, but we just kind of had that connection with what we were talking about, and it just felt.
Sounds gay.
Only gay.
All right, let's mute him. Just kidding. But you know what I mean? Like it just felt right, and that's why when me and him got to talking, and he sent me over, you know, an offer sheet, and he messaged me and said, "What do you think?" And I said, "I want to do it, man." Like it just felt right. And now I thank God that I did.
After the conversation, we got in the parking lot, and I thought, all right, we're going to say see you later, and it'll be good, and then we're going to work out an offer for the next month. And Gail was like, yeah, how about an offer like this? And I was like, sounds good. See you on Monday. It was a done deal.
Yeah, even though my old boss man was not very happy. It
was like, it was actually weird. It was like, see you Wednesday and a half from now. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I made it right. I gave all the time that I needed to. I'm still owed a lot of money. I'll leave that alone. But you know, the whole non-compete clause, which personally I would never do that. You know, there's still a lot of people that work there. And for the record, my old boss, I have nothing but respect for him. I don't know. I don't think he watches this, but even if he does, I wouldn't be where I am without the stuff that he has taught me. You know what I mean? So I have no ill will towards that man, but it was definitely touchy, but it is what it is. Hey, roll the fucking window up. Hey, Biden, roll the window up.
Yeah.
I feel like
Biden.
Oh, okay.
I feel like
What
Gil
part of
has
Texas are you
maintained.
in? What part of Texas is he in? I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, he's in Dallas.
In Dallas. Yeah, I used to live in Dallas. That's a great city.
People from Texas are so passionate about Texas.
That's true.
I'm like, I'm
Spend
from
a little
Maryland.
time here and you'll see why.
All right.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking about going there.
Maryland can burn to the ground. I'll be like, okay.
No, Texas is special. I grew up in Texas. My dad was from Dallas, of course, and my mother's from North Carolina. And so he was a Marine, met my mom, and they're outside of Parris Island, outside of Wilmington, North Carolina. And this is the result, right? So, but I grew up, my first civilian job in heating and air conditioning was in Dallas, Texas as well. But we grew up back in the 70s, you know, and we had horses. We wore the hats. The big show on TV was Dallas. You know, we had boots. that stuff was real. It's not just on TV, but I guess times change, but they still tote guns. So be careful down there.
Well, not
Texas
for
is
long.
awesome.
My dad actually, in high school, the sport, if you will, the extracurricular that my dad took place in was actually horseback riding, rodeo. A bunch of schools used to have rodeo as a sport you can play.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
that's cool.
I wish they don't
These
have
guys
any
are
of that
still
kind of
making fun of you two meeting in the parking lot. Don't read the comments.
Oh
Just
yeah, I
gonna kick
saw
you
it.
off.
Gay. Did you guys make out after dinner? Hey, I got a good offer, okay? I got a good offer. It was too. I couldn't not take it. Yeah, no, it's that's funny.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Oh my God, Josh, year-round HVAC is in here. Mr. Josh, that can never come on a podcast. I'm glad you came in, buddy. Good to see you.
Is it him or his wife?
It's him.
I talk to Josh fairly frequently. Like we message back and forth. So I haven't seen him in the group. I don't know if he's even in the group anymore. But I talk to him often. He's a great guy.
Oh, Josh is awesome. He's got a very good
Yeah.
business up there too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's up. Is it like Boston, Maine, up that way? He's not like Steve Lav that far up, but he's. I know he's up north, Massachusetts.
I
Something
can't
like that.
remember the exact. Yeah, I think Massachusetts. But I should know that, but I don't exactly where he's at. But he is way northeast. So.
I wish he still did his 2 cents and 2 minutes.
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
me too. That was great.
they were good. I told him that he could have came on. He could have had that segment. All he had to do was send it to me, and then I would have put it on the podcast. Oh, he just said,
The
"Wow, you have
Godfather of
Pete."
HVAC.
Yeah. Damn right.
This is Joshua.
We're kind of.
Around heating and cooling. We've all got 2 cents and we've all got 2 minutes. This is my 2 cents under
Massachusetts.
2 minutes.
Massachusetts, yeah.
Yeah, of course we have Pete, the Godfather of HVAC. We're kind of a big deal around here. Jesus. It's like,
That's
Alexander, I'm in an HVAC meeting. Well, if you're in a meeting watching us, I wonder what kind of meeting it is. That's funny. And I do not like bareback riding, Gary Black Jr.
I got to stop watching the chat box. I can't keep a straight face.
Yeah, Gary, I used to work with his dad years ago at refrigeration, doing refrigeration work. That is
So,
funny.
Steve's got a question. I think that's Steve, HVAC Residential Basics.
Yeah, that's Mr. Steve.
Yeah. He says if a new employee, say 6 to 12, I don't know what that means, but it is a great revenue generator, but starts to kill company culture with parking lot trash talk. What's the best way to handle it?
I guess I need to know, what do you mean by employees saying 6 to 12? What do you, I don't, unless I'm missing something and you guys know what that means, I'm not sure what that means, Mr. Steve. I don't know. Does that,
Maybe that's the company size. I don't know.
Could be.
say 6 to 12, it's great. Yeah, no, because
Yeah.
if a new employee say, oh, I don't know, 6 to 12 employees is great, revenue generator, but starts to kill culture. Yeah. I'm not sure what you mean, Mr. Steve.
Cancer.
I'll say this. I'm sorry. Go ahead. A little bit of delay. So I'll say this, guys. The culture is everything. Do not let anybody poison your water. I had that happen. I had, I'm scaling, I'm growing. I've got this new kid in. I brought this seasoned tech over, and his negative attitude not only contaminated the entire culture, ruined my new candidate or my new trainee. And when the main guy left, he left with him, and I'm back in the truck again, rebuilding. When you hire, you've got to hire not just on skill set, but you're going to have to hire on values. You're going to have to hire on, you've got to know what the key characteristics of the ideal employee, what they need to have in terms of personality traits in order to work here. An example of that might be, in order to work here, you must actually care about people. In order to work here, you must have a strive for the top craftsmanship that you possibly can deliver. In order to work here, you must be continually trying to improve yourself and be the continued professional. And maybe those are your three characteristics, but that's reverse engineered, and that's all part of building, who it is that you as an organization need to become. And then make sure they have the aptitude. It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to train somebody, and I know it's easier said than done, but to bring them along if they have a really strong aptitude than it is to take somebody that's got all the skill set, they bring everything and all that bad baggage and just ruin your culture. It is not worth it. So that's my 2 cents, at least 2 cents on that one.
Yeah, no, I Ryan, I know you got to go soon to watch the kiddos, man. So if you do have to hop out, thank you for coming on, brother. I appreciate you being here, man. Thank you for coming on and sharing this with us.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, Ryan.
I'll say, oh shit! All right, see you later.
Thank you, Ryan.
Let me say this before I leave, because this is the biggest thing I'm a fan of, is the culture and the bad talking. Is your business was here before that guy. Your business is going to be here after that guy. So fuck him.
Amen.
If it's to the point where it's fuck him, then fuck him. But there's also a spot called Radical Candor, and it's a book I'm reading by Kim Scott, that you can sit, if you have radical candor with somebody, that means you have a good relationship with somebody and you can challenge them well. And if you can have that, the good relationship with that person, that tech, and challenge them and say, hey, stop talking shit in the parking lot, motherfucker. If that's what you got to say, and it's just like culture shock, whatever, okay, you had that conversation, he does not stop talking shit in the parking lot, then see you later. I gave you the chance, whatever. I think it's important to at least give somebody the chance, or at least be upfront and real with them. And then if they are not jiving, or if they don't say whatever and they're not going with your vision, then they're out. So that's my last thing. See you guys later.
Very
Pete,
well
it was
said.
awesome to meet you. Texas, it was
You
nice
too.
to meet you. Go Texas. And I'll see you guys later.
Thanks for coming on,
See you,
brother.
man.
Appreciate you.
See.
Thanks, Ryan. All right.
See.
Here, I'm gonna make a little change, and we just have to switch Texas over real fast. There we go. Alrighty. So we don't have any
Ryan.
special. I gotta change the name. I think I might just turn the damn background off and make a new one, or just turn the name off.
There's a ton of stuff you could say about this, but I think one thing that I've learned is, just because one person is talking shit or not following the process that you set up, or coming in late, or whatever the case they're doing, what I used to do is address the whole team. I'd be like, okay, guys, we have to get here on time. We made an agreement. You guys understand, we got to be here. And I stopped doing that, because the A players, the guys who are the top level dudes that are on your team, and girls that are on your team, they don't want to hear that shit. They don't want to hear about how we need to be here on time, because they're here at 30 minutes early every day. So it's not fair to them to, talk about certain situations that do not affect them. So we pull the individual aside one-on-one, and instead of saying, look, the rules, you've read the policy handbook, blah blah blah, you need to be here on time, or you need to stop running your mouth, or whatever the case. Instead of that, we're going to have an agreement. I'm going to ask for an agreement. I'm going to say, Mr. Pete, when you first joined on, everything seemed fine. Your attitude was great, and I really respect everything you've done for our company, and all the hard work that you put in. However, this is what I need from you. Can we make an agreement that we're going to stop talking bad about our coworkers every time we step out the door. And I want to hear it from them. Yes, I agree to that, Kelly. And then if they don't agree, I mean, if the same behavior continues, that's when we're going to sit down and it's going to be ramped up to the next level. And even that first conversation, the agreement, they're going to sign a piece of paper that says, we have an agreement. Here's the plan that we're going to correct this act, take some corrective action and make it right. And here's my signature. And that way it's all documented. So that's one thing that we've gotten really good at, is just we document everything. We also started keeping a company, like we have a folder on every employee, but we also have a notebook that even if I give praise to somebody, we're recording that, because I want to be able to look back through that book and say, look at how many times Joe has been doing a great job. There was this job, there was that job, there was this job that he just smashed it, and the customer was ecstatic, and he's just a great guy. And now, because I've collected this little information on him, it's going to help me make decisions about, whether to give him a raise or not. So document the good along with the bad. If there is any bad things that come up, or any disagreements, or anytime they're not behaving the way that they first signed up to with your company to act like. What do you think, Pete?
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. And so I was just reading the chats. Zeke says canning. Mine just left him. Wow.
Yeah.
Zeke and I were actually talking about that on another conversation, and he didn't realize it was the same thing. He didn't realize the negativity that was in the culture until it was removed. And this is a terrible example, I know, and forgive me for saying this, but it's just like, it's one of those things that it's like the seething frog. The temperature's getting a little hotter, a little harder, and you don't realize how bad it's getting. It's like when you go to the bathroom and you have a really big event and it's like all this pressure is gone. You didn't realize what you were dealing with until it's gone. Sorry for the example, but it's something like that. And so they teach, be slow to hire and quick to fire. Do not let anybody contaminate your culture. And that's easier said than done, particularly with the smaller pool of talent that's available these days. We need to approach the hiring process differently. We select differently. You do not want to invest in somebody month after month after month, and 6-8 months later have to let them go because they're not a good fit. You need to know that up front. And so we're working hard on putting a process together to hopefully identify, this is my candidate over there. I may have to train him longer or her longer, but they're going to be around. And this person has all the skills in the world, says the right things, but because my interview process helps me to identify not just the words coming out of his or her mouth, but the attitude behind those words, with you can call them trick questions or whatever you want, but questions that will reveal that the beliefs behind that. An example of that might be, Kelly, tell me about a time when you're working with your team, you're almost through the job, and bam, everything changed. They had to change all the rules. You had to go back and undo stuff and redo it. Tell me about that. Now, if Kelly's making the face, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe it, we had to start all over. So that's a person that's resistant to change. But if that same candidate slides up on the front of his seat, he's like, oh my gosh, they came in and they changed everything, and we jumped in and we did this, we did that, and the next thing you know, we knocked it out. And half the time, there's somebody who embraces change. And if you know that change is part of your culture, and for most businesses it is, we're always trying to grow. And the boss went to another seminar, here we go again. We can't have too much of that. I mean, a measure of that we have to earn our way through, but ultimately part of who you're hiring in terms of those characteristics, in terms of that personality, that needs to fit. And it's kind of like your wife. If you want that 1 in a million, you're going to have to date 999,000 something, right? So you should always be hiring. You should always have your feelers out there. And, it may not be the best timing to let that bad apple go yet, but when that other candidate comes along, don't you hold back. That is your name on everything. They quit, get another job. You go under everything you've got, right? So you've got a right to speak up. And remember, what's the expression? Nonverbal consent or something. If you don't express verbally, we're not going to have this in this organization, then you're basically saying it's okay by not saying anything. Whatever that expression is, it escapes me right now. But excellent points, Kelly. I agree.
I gotta just add to that. Sorry, Texas. One minute. I just want to add to that sometimes that person is so critical to your operation that I wouldn't recommend just getting rid of them right away. You may have to plan for it. You may have to say, in 6 months on this date, like if they broke your cardinal rules, like the core of your company by not following your core values, like that's a non-negotiable. You're going to have to get rid of them. But sometimes we got to pick a date and say, by this date, they are gone. Now I'm going to meet with my team and I'm going to say, okay, we have to fill this position. We have to make up for all this revenue that this particular person does. How do we do it? And let's build a plan to be sure to replace that revenue. That way, by that date, we can say, see ya, and send them home, send them packing. But I just wanted to add that, like, sometimes I get it, because talent is scarce. You don't always have the opportunity to just dump somebody immediately if they're a high revenue producer, but you can plan for it and make it happen on the day that you say it's going to happen, and challenge everyone on the team to build their skills up to take the place of that. We got to replace this revenue. How are we going to do it? Plan for it and then execute.
And a cost analysis. How long can this person be here after breaking that rule versus the revenue that you're going to lose from them? They bring in a lot of money, but whatever, say they're destroying the culture. It's like, what's more valuable to me? Destroying my culture and letting that person stay here? Well, that's what I'm saying. You got to find a happy medium
with that, yeah.
Yeah, but I agree though. But you got to plan for it. It's not something, and sometimes the time frame will be different on different people. So no, I agree with what you're
Absolutely.
saying.
Texas.
Yeah, I was just going to add that sometimes it's important to listen to what they're saying, because there may be some validity to it and they're just venting. They may not be trash talking. There may be some substance to what they're complaining about, and that they're just too afraid or threatened or don't want to say it in front of you for whatever the reason may be. And there could be an opportunity, as much as you don't want to hear it as a leader, it could be an opportunity for you to grow as a leader, because there may be some substance to what they're bitching about.
Very true.
100%. 100%.
I think that's overlooked oftentimes. Our gut instinct, our knee-jerk reaction is to get defensive rather than try to listen to what they're actually telling us or telling somebody else, because they may be the only ones that care about you enough or care about what's going on enough to actually say something. Everyone else may not have enough care to actually say anything, just let it go, because they just don't care that much. At least that's my experience. The people that now, not your habitual complainers, not your cancers, but in my group, the people that complain the most are the people that care the most.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just another, I don't know what this guy's unique situation is, but I do believe that. And if you could take 5 seconds, take a deep breath, and try not to unleash and explode on the dude, you may find an opportunity to grow yourself or to fill in a hole that exists in your organization.
Yeah, 100%. It's something that every single business owner goes through. Like, sooner or later, you cannot. There are ways to, try to have a better to pick the right candidates a little bit better. I know there's ways. I'm still trying to learn those ways, but they're out there and they exist. It at least gives you a little better chance of getting somebody who actually meshes well with your company culture and has the same core values or shares the same values. But one time or another, you're going to choose somebody, and it's going to be the wrong choice.
No,
here's another thing as it pertains to recruiting talent. If you hire 3 or 4 people in a row and they all suck, you may want to give that job to someone else. You may not be the best judge of character.
Well,
that's a hard thing to accept.
I had 3 people come and go, so all for different reasons. But yeah, that's a good eye opener.
I mean, that's me. I'm like, hey, this guy's nice. Let's hire him. And
Right.
He's gone in 2 months. And then one of my other guys, he finds guys and they stick around for 2-3 years and still going strong. And because I like nice people, and he can see things that I can't see, and it's not a strength of mine. So accept that we're not all good at that.
All for different reasons. I like the idea of getting your team involved in the hiring process, and multiple meeting times. I've heard people make sure to take them to lunch at one time or another before you hire them and see how they treat the waitress and the hostess. Make sure that they're polite and they're saying thank you and please. And because decent people, that's how they treat other people. But if they get irritated or aggravated.
Is anybody really not going to be on their best behavior in that type of setting? I mean, you have to be a real idiot.
Nowadays, you would think.
Yeah.
You would think.
I know I've done it in the past. I haven't done it here recently. I just recently hired a guy this last week, and he'll be starting in a couple weeks, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we're not really. Well, we might be hiring here soon, but one thing we do is the guys that we have. I randomly stop on jobs, take them out to lunch, try to ride with them. And that's part of the things that we kind of do, with the culture. Or if I go over there with them, we talk or whatever, and then I'll let them, I'll give them my card and say, hey, order lunch. Good job, guys, and leave. So we try to do that as far as to buying lunch. It's not a bad idea hiring somebody. I just don't want to waste. I like eating good lunches, so I don't want to waste. Look, I'll take them to the dollar menu. Let them get something cheap before they work here.
I'm not sure if this is 100% within the confines of the law and what's admissible and legal, but we like to do interviews like where they go on a ride along with us. Hey, come up here and run a service call with us, or spend 2 or 3 hours running calls with us. We don't ask them to do anything, but we get a sense of who they are in that type of setting, because it's a very relaxed environment. We're riding around in a truck together, 2 guys hanging out.
Yeah, that's why I like. I don't think that you can ever replace the power of ride-alongs.
Actually,
No, absolutely.
Interviewed a guy last week and made him an offer, and he said he didn't think that offer was right for what he's worth. But he did something really cool. He actually said, let me come up there on Saturday and work with you and just show you what I can do. And I thought that was kind of a cool approach he took, rather than just saying, oh, if my worth is higher, yeah. He's like, let me come show you.
No, that's
that could be a solid guy right there for sure. So,
I feel really good about this one.
Yeah.
I might have to sneak away and take a pee real soon.
Too much information.
Well,
I could just stay here and tell you that I just went.
Let's do it right along.
Yeah, let's do a ride along. I'm gonna get you on the the cam. You guys can go with me.
We're getting close to
Just
that.
leave your phone on. We'll listen to your customer service skills.
Yeah, right.
I've been on the phone many times with Texas when he's knocking on doors and going in, and he's like, "Hold on, just a second." How many calls have I been on? Probably like I've been on the phone riding along with Texas on calls probably 15 times at least.
That's funny.
I'll put them on my AirPods sometimes, and I'll say, okay, hold on, and then I'll go through my and I'll get up in the attic when I'm away from the customer. I'll say, okay, how'd I do?
Yeah.
That's funny.
I'm waiting.
So in the comments,
Go ahead.
right before I fell off, sorry about that. Alexander's Refrigeration was talking about, sometimes, if you're the key tech and everything's on your shoulders and they're loading and loading and loading, sometimes it's hard not to have a little negativity in your person, in your candor, if you will. And it can have its grind. And so I think as leaders, we have to be aware of that. And this is a hard thing to do for most of us, because as you transition out of customer acquisition mode where you're just trying to get customers, right? And then you start to build your customer base, and then you start to have this repeat business, and then your closing ratios go up, everything gets better. It's hard not to want to get every call that comes in. And what we have to do is put a process or a system, use Ryan's words, in place that allows us to slow down, do better work, raise the effectiveness of the work, which is going to raise the customer satisfaction. It's going to raise the amount of work being done, and therefore your billable ticket, your GP, and all of this works out. But that means you can't get them all, because if you're going to run your guys till 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night and have them, next thing in the morning, starting at 7 a.m. again, they'll do that for a while. But how could you keep a smile on your face during that, under those circumstances? I think when I was in my 20s, I probably could for a while, because I used to party all weekend. Could show up hungover on Monday and go get them again, but not after a point in your career. So we do, as leaders, we do have to recognize that they're people too. On the one hand, you don't want to have an employee that has you over a barrel. In that negativity, they can just say whatever they want, and if they quit, you're SOL. But on the other hand, you've got to respect the fact that if you do have somebody that's key, you've got to be sensitive to the fact that they're human beings as well. And so striking that balance is a lot easier said than done, but it can be done. The easiest way to do it, of course, is to bring in some extra bodies, but it has to be the right people. And this stuff is so multifaceted, guys, that a lot of times we'll throw one solution to fix our problem, and it just doesn't work like that. The other pieces have to be in place in order for this one change to resonate throughout the organization. You have to have your weekly meetings. You have to have the camaraderie and the team building events and sharing of stories and the competition, that the peer pressure, and who's going to have the most Google reviews this month, and this and that. Creating a culture is work. And being a boss is easy, but being a leader, again, just coming back full circle, your dad, you're the psychologist and shrink, you're all of these different things. I had 3 guys in 1 week sit in my office and tell me they're going to blow their brains out. 3, my salesman, one of my installers, and the service tech. And because I used to have a 12 gauge over in the corner, he said, I'm going to go right over there. It's my sales guy. I'm going to go right over there and grab that shotgun, put it in my mouth, and blow my brains out. People have problems, and so I don't know if you've ever had these conversations. You feel like, why is this person opening up to that level to me? But if you're a business owner, you're going to get that, and you must learn to manage that, because I mean, it's like being a dad. It really is. You don't feel like one, but you've got a lot more respect as a business owner just by virtue of your position in the organization. So it's a lot to juggle. It's a whole lot. And so we just have to strike that balance.
No, it's definitely hard. That's why I always say I always got to know people's why and what they're doing, why they're doing what they're doing. And it's good when I love to go out on these jobs, especially here, because it was different where I was before, because those guys a lot of them guys saw me come up in the ranks. They saw me in the field. They saw me in action. They saw what I did. Here I came over as just being one of the bosses, one of the big dogs. So a lot of times what I like to do when I go out there is we don't even talk about work. I try to talk, how's the kids do now that I know about their family, like, oh, how's the kids doing? How's the wife doing? Like our lead installer is like a badass musician. Like, oh man, how'd your show go? And just try to make it about different things. So, I mean, that's also for me. I do that trying to get to know these guys on a personal level too. So far, so good.
You have to know what they're fighting for every day. What are they getting out of bed for every day? I mean, because, like Pete said, everybody's struggling with something at any given time. And sometimes knowing what they're fighting for and just helping them, being there for them, sometimes that's enough for them to go ahead and take that next step, to get up again, if they feel like they're being kicked or, and that's our goal. That's our job as leaders, I believe. And it's constantly evolving. So.
Yeah, it is for sure. I want to keep this going. We got to stop here, just for time's sake. Thank you guys for coming on. Thanks for coming on, P. I know this is last minute. We really appreciate it. I want you to come back. Hopefully I'll get some of these video quirks worked out. Since especially I haven't done live streams all week, but the plan is now that we're every Wednesday, like when you came on to record, we're going to put all the video out. Like it's going to be live at the time we're recording. So that way the video's out there for people. They can comment in with us. And then Saturday nights, I'm going to start doing at probably 9 p.m. Eastern Standard live streams. So you have an open invitation anytime that you ever want to come on with us.
You guys are awesome, man. I appreciate that.
Thanks for all your insight, Pete. Yeah, love listening to, because I know you got loads of experience, and I love hearing the different situations and different ways to tackle different problems that we all face in our businesses. So thank you very much.
Yeah, likewise. Me too, guys. Me too. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate you. And I look forward to the next one.
Yes, and all of you people listening, I know I didn't do a very good job promoting this, letting people know, because a lot of people are texting me saying like, hey man, if I knew you were going to be live, I would have came and checked it out. And, the plan is, because we have so many people like in our Facebook group, but we have a lot of loyal followers on YouTube. And I'll be honest with you, I'm trying to get more of the Facebook group over to YouTube, because the Facebook platform is went to shit. I'll be honest. It really is crazy. So, with some of the things they're doing, I don't want that Facebook group to be gone, and then we have thousands of people that we cannot get in touch with anymore. So, we'll try to figure it out at some point. But me and Kelly are trying to make some changes going into, from here, this point, and now that I try to have a little bit more time, but stepping into a business in the role that I am, being a partner in the company, that had to be my priority. I just,
absolutely.
Yeah. So we're in a good place, a very good place. So, and one thing that's awesome is Ryan, it's all about this podcast. He wants me like, go do what you got to do. I'm like, no, I can't, man. I got to worry about A, B, C, D for the company before I think about, a template I'm going to make for the goddamn podcast. So, But anyway, all you guys that are here, and a lot of you have been loyal to us since day one. Me and Kelly can really, really not thank you guys enough. People hear that 1 million downloads, and I know it's like, oh man, and I know it's a lot to everybody, but I remember me and Kelly when we first started this thing, when we were getting, I remember the first time we got 1,000 downloads, and me and Kelly were like rejoicing. We were so happy. It was like, oh my God, dude, we got 1,000 downloads. And then it was 5, it was 6, it was 7, it was 10, it was 20,000 downloads per episode. And, this has been a crazy ride, and I cannot wait to see where this thing goes. And thank you guys for sharing this ride with us. We really, really can't thank you enough.
Awesome. Thank you guys. And Ryan in Texas, before I forget, those guys are awesome as well.
Yeah, we'll have to do this. I think I told you before, one of my plans about one of those Saturday night things is just to call like a meeting of the minds, kind of like we were doing right now, except just giving people the opportunity once it's, promoted, just to come on here and ask questions. So obviously not give away our knowledge for free or programs and stuff like that. But at the same time, people can get in here and ask us questions, whether it's business, technical, whatever it is. And obviously that leads into like, if they need more in-depth programs, then, you offer that. Kelly has programs. So it just kind of helps everybody at the same time, adds value for our listener base and viewer base.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So, I just want to thank everybody for being here. Pete, Ryan, Texas, Steve, Alexander's, Refrigeration and AC, Josh, Zeke.
Zeke.
Yeah, Zeke. Thank you guys for showing up and hanging with us for a little while, and we really appreciate you. And on to the next 100. Right? On to the next 100, to the next 2 million, let's get to 2 million next. So
yeah. And like me and Kelly said, I know the video, people have been asking for the video podcast for a while. So that's why we're just going to put it in there live. The audio podcast will still be out like normal. Live streams are going to start back up. I had to take off this summer, and to be honest, goddamn, it felt good. It really did feel good to just take a little break, man. Cause, I am always go. So to have a little breather was really, really good. But we're going to start dropping some things and taking some things to different levels. So we hope that you guys like it. And we will be here on this YouTube channel as far as videos coming out. And guys, don't always forget, obviously Pete has a YouTube channel, which is just HVAC Greatness, right?
By Pete Ramsey, because it started off as Pete Ramsey Consulting, and that brand was generated later. So yeah, just look for both. It's about 1,300 subscribers. It's pretty small.
Okay, well, that's more than what a
big
little bit less than what I have.
Guys.
Maybe Facebook, but I don't have that many more either. We don't have that many more in here. And don't forget Kelly's YouTube channel, HVAC Millionaire. Especially, it's more guided towards owners and stuff like that. But Kelly also puts great content on his channel all the time, so don't forget that.
And there's stuff for technicians too. Just not like technical stuff. I'm not doing service calls and stuff. So I'm more about the mindset and increasing your skill level on the communication side. So
yeah, I don't blame you.
I love it.
I would be too.
Hey, one thing I will throw in there, HVAC Greatness. There is a second YouTube channel that has not launched yet. I think I'm going to use this new shorts loophole that will help bring you along for the consumer. And so the idea is that if you're out there, you're talking with a customer and you're talking about a product and they show resistance, you say, you know what, this guy here is talking about the same thing. Maybe you understand the way he explains it. And so it becomes a third party validation. It's just something, that might help. And so we thought about that. There's a reason for doing that. And it's not just that, but ultimately that's what it can be leveraged for. If you're out there and you're trying to figure out how to convey something and you're just not comfortable and you wanted to bring it home, you might say, you know what, watch this video. This guy talks about that new, iWave thing really, and he explains it really well, and so we try to speak to the consumer's level in a way that they get it, but yet not not be too technical at the same time. Anyway, just thought I'd plug that in there. Sorry about that.
No, that's awesome. Of course. All right, gentlemen, I will, thanks again. Thanks all you guys for being there. I will go ahead and put our little end screen and play the outro just for the audio version, so I don't have to do it later. So thank you guys for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the HVAC Uncensored podcast. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Instagram, or email us anytime at hvacuncensored@gmail.com. Now, get back to work. Shut this down. The views and opinions shared on the HVAC Uncensored podcast may not necessarily be the views and opinions of our sponsors or guests.